Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the viewing window of the Galactic Council station, watching the stars spin slowly as the massive structure rotated. 3 years had passed since humanity first made contact with the Council, and she still felt like an outsider looking in. The station was beautiful in its alien way, with crystalline towers that hummed with energy and corridors wide enough for the largest species to walk comfortably. But beauty could not hide the truth she had learned over these 3 long years. Humanity was not welcome here as equals. They were useful, nothing more. Sarah turned away from the window as the council chamber doors opened. Representatives from 47 different species filed in, their forms ranging from the tall, elegant Zephyrians with their blue skin and silver eyes to the insect-like Nexari with their clicking mandibles and compound eyes. At the far end sat the massive Kitharans, their bear-like forms taking up 3 seats each. She took her place at the small desk marked for humanity. It was positioned at the back of the chamber, away from the central circle where the major powers sat. A reminder of their status as junior members, High Counselor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire called the session to order. His voice carried the arrogance that Sarah had come to hate over the years. We gather today to address the matter of System Kepler 442 and its newly discovered mineral wealth. Sarah's heart sank. She knew what was coming. Kepler 442 was in human space, home to 2 thriving colonies with over 3 million people. The rare minerals found there were worth more than entire planets. Counselor Nexith of the Nexari Collective spoke next, her mechanical translator making her voice sound cold and emotionless. Our surveys show the system contains the largest deposits of trilithium crystals ever discovered. These crystals are essential for faster-than-light communication across the galaxy. Indeed, Vextar continued, such a valuable resource cannot remain in the hands of such a young species. The risk is too great. Sarah stood up quickly. Honored counselors, humanity has done nothing to suggest we cannot manage our own resources responsibly. We have followed every regulation, paid every tax, and contributed to council defense forces when asked. Several counselors made dismissive sounds. Grexanon of the Kitharan spoke in his deep, rumbling voice. Young species often think they can handle more than they can. History shows us otherwise. What exactly are you proposing? Sarah asked, though she feared she already knew. Vexitar smiled, showing sharp teeth. Relocation. We have identified several suitable systems in the Outer Rim where humanity can establish new colonies. Your people will be compensated fairly for any losses. Sarah felt her blood turn cold. You want us to abandon our homes, our colonies that we built with our own hands. It is for the good of galactic stability, Nexith said. Younger species often become aggressive when they control valuable resources. We have seen this pattern before. The other counselors nodded in agreement. Sarah looked around the chamber desperately. Not one species spoke in humanity's defense. They had all made their decision before she even walked into the room. And if we refuse? Sarah asked. The chamber fell silent. Vextar's smile faded. Then the council will be forced to take measures to ensure galactic security. Sarah knew that was a threat. The council had the largest military force in the galaxy. Humanity had only a few dozen ships and no weapons that could match alien technology. I request time to consult with my government, Sarah said. You have 72 hours, Vextar declared. After that, we expect your compliance. Sarah left the chamber with her small human delegation. None of them spoke until they reached their quarters. Finally, Marcus Chen, her military advisor and cousin, broke the silence. They planned this from the beginning, he said angrily. 3 years of pretending to welcome us just so they could steal what we found. What can we do? Asked Dr. Elena Vasquez, the science advisor. We cannot fight the entire galaxy. Sarah activated the secure communication array to contact Earth. President Williams appeared on the screen, his face tired and worried. Sarah, we received your emergency signal. What is the situation? Sarah explained the council's ultimatum. The president listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each word. Mr. President, Sarah concluded, they give us 3 days to abandon everything we have built beyond Earth. If we refuse, they will use force. President Williams was quiet for a long moment. And you believe they will follow through on their threat? Yes, sir. They have done this before to other species. The Dalari Empire was forced to give up their core worlds when they refused to share their medical technology. The Council called it ensuring galactic harmony. How long would relocation take? The President asked. At least 5 years to move everyone safely, but they want us out in 6 months. Many will die in the rush. President Williams closed his eyes. Sarah, I want you to inform the Council that humanity rejects their ultimatum. We will not abandon our people. Sir, they will attack us, I know, but we cannot set the precedent that bullies can take whatever they want, just because they are stronger. Humanity has never bowed to tyrants, and we will not start now. The next day, Sarah delivered humanity's response to the Council. The reaction was swift and predictable. Vextar declared humanity to be in violation of galactic security protocols. Within hours, the Council voted to authorize military action. Sarah and her delegation were confined to their quarters for their own safety. Through the viewing window, she watched as Council warships began gathering around the station. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, all preparing to attack human worlds. 2 days later, the assault began. Sarah watched in horror as reports came in from the human colonies. Orbital bombardments turned cities to glass. Millions died in the first hour. The human defense fleet fought bravely but was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. 12 worlds burned. 12 thriving colonies with their farms and schools and families, reduced to radioactive wastelands. The few human ships that survived fled into deep space. Earth itself was surrounded by a blockade that let nothing in or out. In her quarters, Sarah wept for her people. But she also felt something else growing inside her, not just grief but rage. The Council had shown their true nature. They were not peacekeepers or guardians of civilization. They were predators who took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who resisted. Unknown to the Council, Admiral Marcus Kane had escaped the slaughter with a small fleet. His ships carried some of humanity's best scientists and soldiers. They also carried something more dangerous than any weapon, the burning desire for justice. As Sarah sat in her prison, she received a coded message hidden in routine communications. It was from Kane, 3 simple words that filled her with dark hope. We remember everything. The Council thought they had won. They believed they had taught humanity its place in the galactic order. They had no idea that they had just created their own worst nightmare. Humanity had learned the galaxy's most important lesson: might makes right. Now they would teach the galaxy what might really looked like when it was driven by the memory of murdered children and burning worlds. The Council's greatest mistake was not destroying humanity completely. The survivors would make sure they never forgot that error. 1 year had passed since the massacre. In the cold darkness of space, far from any Council patrol routes, Admiral Marcus Kane stood before a holographic display showing the scattered remnants of humanity. What he saw should have filled him with despair. Instead, it filled him with grim satisfaction. The numbers told a story of survival against impossible odds. Of the original 300 million humans living beyond Earth, only 50 million had survived the Council's attack. But those survivors had not given up. They had found each other in the vast emptiness between stars. Kane's flagship, the Defiant, hung in the shadow of a massive asteroid that drifted through an unnamed system. Around it, dozens of other human ships had gathered. Some were military vessels that had escaped the initial attack. Others were cargo haulers and mining ships that had been converted into mobile bases. Admiral, the morning briefing is ready, said Captain Lisa Santos, his second in command. She was younger than Kane, but the past year had aged her beyond her 35 years. Like all the survivors, she carried the weight of what they had lost. Kane followed her to the main conference room. Representatives from all the survivor groups were present, either in person or by hologram. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the screen from her research station hidden in the Veil Nebula. Commander James Wright spoke from his base built inside a dead comet. Captain Maria Gonzalez transmitted from her fleet of ships that never stayed in one place for more than a week. Status report, people, Kane said as he took his seat. Dr. Vasquez spoke first. Admiral, I have excellent news. We have successfully reverse-engineered Zephyrian shield technology. Not only that, we have improved it. Our new shields are 30% more efficient than the original design. Kane raised an eyebrow. How did you manage that? The Zephyrians built their shields to protect against energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They never considered protection against gravitational manipulation or dimensional phasing. When we added those protections, the entire system became more stable. Commander Wright leaned forward. My engineers have been working on Nexari stealth systems. We found something interesting. The Nexari use organic computers that think like insect hives. When we connected them to human neural interfaces, the processing power increased exponentially. Are you saying we can think faster than they can? Kane asked. In some ways, yes. The Nexari are very logical, but they cannot adapt quickly to unexpected situations. Humans excel at creative problem solving. When we combine human creativity with Nexari processing power, we get solutions that neither species could achieve alone. Captain Gonzalez's voice crackled through the speakers. Admiral, my scavenger teams have recovered technology from 17 different council species. Every time we mix technologies from different races, we discover new possibilities. It's like the council species never thought to share their innovations with each other. Kane nodded. This was humanity's greatest advantage. The council species were arrogant and protective of their secrets. Each race guarded their technology jealously, sharing only what was necessary for trade or defense. But humans had no such pride. They took whatever worked and made it better. What about weapons? Kane asked. Dr. Vasquez smiled grimly. We have made significant progress there as well. The Catharans use biological weapons that target specific genetic markers. We have modified their designs to be non-lethal, but highly effective. We can now put entire populations to sleep or cause temporary memory loss without permanent harm. Memory loss? Kane was intrigued. Selective memory editing. We can remove specific memories while leaving everything else intact. Imagine making a council admiral forget all their military training, or causing a politician to forget state secrets. Commander Wright added. We have also weaponized some technologies in ways their creators never intended. Delari medical nanobots can be reprogrammed to disrupt electronic systems. Fourth-hand terraforming equipment can be used to rapidly change atmospheric composition. Quen mineral extraction tools can tunnel through any known material. Kane stood and walked to the holographic display. It showed the galaxy with known council positions marked in red and human strongholds in blue. The blue dots were pitifully few compared to the red ones, but Kane was not discouraged. How many people do we have in total now? He asked. Captain Santos consulted her datapad. 53 million confirmed survivors. But, Admiral, we have another development you need to know about. Kane turned to her. Yes? Dr. Vasquez's team has been working on something they call the Genesis Project. Elena, would you like to explain? Dr. Vasquez looked uncomfortable. Admiral, we recovered Vorthon genetic engineering technology from a destroyed research station. We have been using it to accelerate human reproduction and development. Kane felt a chill. Explain. Artificial wombs, genetic optimization, accelerated growth and education. We can take a human from conception to full adult status in 18 months instead of 18 years. The artificial intelligence systems we captured can download knowledge directly into developing brains. The room fell silent. Kane understood the implications immediately. How many have you created? 40 million so far. All volunteers donated genetic material. Each new person receives the memories and skills of our best soldiers, scientists and engineers. They are fully human, just grown faster and educated more efficiently. Kane sat down heavily. You have tripled our population in 1 year. Yes, sir. And they are not children, Admiral. They have adult minds, adult capabilities, and adult understanding of what the Council did to us. They were born knowing they exist to reclaim what was stolen from humanity. Captain Wright spoke up. Admiral, I know this sounds extreme, but consider our situation. The Council has millions of ships and trillions of citizens. If we fight them conventionally, we will lose. But if we can match their numbers while keeping our technological advantages... Kane looked around the room at the faces of his officers. They were all waiting for his decision. He thought about the burning worlds, the murdered families, the arrogance of the Council. They had shown no mercy to human children. Perhaps it was time to stop thinking like the old humanity and start thinking like the new one. Continue the Genesis Project, Kane said finally. But I want every new person to understand that they are not weapons. They are our future. When this war is over, they will be the ones who rebuild what was lost. Dr. Vasquez nodded. Understood, Admiral. There is one more thing. We have developed a new type of faster-than-light travel. Instead of using the traditional hyperspace lanes that the Council monitors, we can phase in and out of parallel dimensions. We call it ghost jumping, Show me, Kane ordered. The holographic display changed to show a council patrol fleet. Suddenly, human ships seemed to materialize out of nowhere, attack with devastating precision, and then vanish again like they had never existed. The council cannot track us, cannot predict where we will appear, and cannot follow us when we leave, Dr. Vasquez explained. To them, we are ghosts. Kane smiled for the first time in months. It was not a pleasant expression. How long before we are ready to begin operations? Captain Santos checked her data. All survivor groups will be fully equipped and reinforced within 6 months. The new generation will complete their education in 3 months. Kane stood up and looked at each person in the room. Then it is time to send a message to the council. They think they destroyed humanity. They are about to learn how wrong they are. He activated the communication system that connected all human bases. Attention all units. This is Admiral Kane. For 1 year we have hidden in the darkness, building our strength and planning our response. The council believes we are broken, scattered, and helpless. Today we begin to show them the truth. The faces on the screen showed grim determination. These were not the same humans who had begged for mercy a year ago. They had been forged in the fire of genocide and tempered by the cold of space. They were something new, something dangerous, something the galaxy had never seen before. Operation Ghost Hunt begins in 72 hours, Kane announced. It is time to remind the Council that humanity remembers everything. Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian patrol ship Bright Dawn was reviewing routine reports when his communications officer suddenly looked up with confusion. Sir, I am receiving a distress signal from Patrol Group 7. Veltar frowned. What is their situation? That is the problem, sir. The signal cut off after only 3 words. Unknown ships attacking. Then nothing. How far are they from our position? 6 hours at maximum speed. Veltar considered his options. Patrol Group 7 consisted of 3 heavy cruisers and an escort squadron. What could attack such a force and defeat it so quickly? Set course for their last known position, he ordered. And send a message to command. Tell them we may have a pirate situation. 6 hours later, the Bright Dawn arrived at the coordinates. What they found made no sense. 3 Zephyrian cruisers floated dead in space, their hulls intact but all power systems offline. The escort ships were nowhere to be found. Sir, his tactical officer reported, I am detecting no weapons damage on any of the ships. No hull breaches, no energy weapon burns, no missile impact sites. Veltar stared at the display. Then how were they disabled? Unknown, sir. I am also detecting something else. All 3 ships are broadcasting a signal on emergency frequencies. What kind of signal? The tactical officer hesitated. It appears to be music, sir. Human music. Veltar felt a chill run down his spine. Humans, but they were defeated over a year ago. Yes, sir. But the signal is definitely coming from the ships, and it is definitely human in origin. Veltar ordered a boarding party to investigate the nearest cruiser. What they found was even more disturbing. The entire crew was unconscious but alive, lying at their posts as if they had simply fallen asleep. Medical scans showed no signs of injury or poisoning. Sir, the boarding party leader reported, we found something in the ship's computer system, a message. Play it, Veltar ordered. The main screen activated, showing a human face. It was a young girl, perhaps 10 years old, with bright eyes and a cheerful smile. She was playing with a toy spaceship. My name is Lucy Chen, the girl said in perfect Zephyrian. I lived on New Harmony Colony with my mommy and daddy. I liked to paint pictures of the pretty mountains and play with my friends at school. The image changed, showing a beautiful human settlement with crystal towers and green fields. Children played in parks while their parents worked in gleaming laboratories and workshops. This was my home, Lucy continued. This was where I was born, where I learned to walk and talk and read. This was where I was supposed to grow up and maybe have children of my own someday. The scene changed again. Now it showed the same settlement from space as orbital bombardment turned it into a sea of fire. The girl's voice became sad but remained gentle. But you took it away from us. You decided that humans did not deserve to have homes or families or dreams. You decided that we were too dangerous to live. The image returned to the girl's face. Her expression was still kind, but there was something in her eyes that made Veltar's blood freeze. My name was Lucy Chen. I was 10 years old when you murdered me, and we remember. The message ended. Veltar stood in stunned silence as the implications sank in. The humans were not dead. They were out there watching, waiting, and they were angry. Over the following weeks, similar incidents occurred throughout Council space. Ships would vanish from patrol routes only to be found days later with their crews unconscious and human messages playing on repeat. Each message featured a different victim of the orbital bombardments. Children, parents, teachers, farmers, all speaking imperfect alien languages, all sharing their stories, all ending with the same phrase, "And we remember." The Council tried to dismiss the incidents as isolated attacks by human terrorists, but the pattern was too clear to ignore. The humans were targeting specific individuals, ship captains who had participated in the bombardment, politicians who had voted for the relocation, military officers who had given the orders to fire. High Counselor Vextar called an emergency session as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Ships belonging to anyone connected to the human genocide were being hunted with surgical precision. "This is impossible," declared Counselor Nexith. "Our intelligence reports indicate that fewer than 50 million humans survived the pacification operation. They cannot possibly have the resources to conduct operations across the entire galaxy." Admiral Korth of the Catharan Defense Force disagreed. "The attacks show clear tactical sophistication. These are not random raids. Someone is coordinating a galaxy-wide campaign." Vextar studied the reports. "The humans are using technology we do not recognize. Our sensors detect nothing until the attacks are already over." "How are they achieving such stealth capabilities?" "Perhaps they have developed new technology," suggested Counselor Yesh of the Dalari Confederation. "Humans are known for their adaptability." Nexith's mechanical voice carried doubt. "In 1 year? Impossible. It took our species centuries to develop our current technology levels." The debate was interrupted by an urgent transmission from Admiral Quexnon of the Zephyrian Fifth Fleet. His image appeared on the main screen, his usually composed features showing clear stress. "High Counselor, I must report a significant incident. 3 of our training academies have been attacked." Vextar leaned forward. "Attacked? Were there casualties?" "No, sir. That is what makes this so disturbing. The academies were not destroyed. Instead, the attackers projected holographic displays throughout all 3 facilities. Images of human children who died in the bombardment. Thousands of faces, each with a name and age." The chamber fell silent. Vextar felt his throat tighten. What was the purpose of this display? "The message was clear, sir. Our cadets, our children, now know exactly what was done to the human colonies. They know the faces and names of every child who died. Many of our young officers are questioning the justness of our actions." Counselor Grexnon of the Kytherans spoke in his deep voice. "This is psychological warfare of the highest order. The humans are not trying to defeat us militarily. They are trying to break our will to fight." "It is working," admitted Admiral Quexnon. "Morale across the fleet is dropping rapidly. Many officers are requesting transfers away from human space. Some are even submitting formal protests against our policies." Vextar stood up angrily. "This is unacceptable. We will not be terrorized by a defeated species. Double all patrols in human space. Install new sensor networks. Find their bases and destroy them." "Sir," Admiral Quexnon said hesitantly, "we have tried. Our best intelligence analysts have studied every attack. The humans appear to be using some form of advanced stealth technology. They can attack anywhere at any time, and we cannot predict or prevent their movements." Nexith's mechanical voice cut through the discussion. "Perhaps we should consider opening negotiations. The humans seem more interested in making a statement than causing actual casualties." Vextar turned on her furiously. "Negotiate? With terrorists? We are the Galactic Council. We do not bow to the demands of primitive species." "With respect, High Counselor," said Counselor Yesh, "these humans no longer seem very primitive. Their technology is now clearly superior to ours in several areas." The argument continued for hours, but no solutions emerged. The humans had become ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing without trace. They left behind only memories of their victims and the growing fear that nowhere in Council space was truly safe. As the session ended, Vextar returned to his private quarters to find a message waiting on his personal communication system. The sender was listed as a friend. The message began with an image of a human man in military uniform. He looked older, scarred by hardship, but his eyes burned with cold determination. "High Counselor Vextar," the man said in perfect Zephyrian, "my name is Admiral Marcus Kane. You probably do not remember me, but I remember you very well. You were the one who cast the deciding vote to relocate humanity. You were the one who signed the order for orbital bombardment when we refused to abandon our homes. Kane's expression never changed, but his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. I want you to know that we have found you. We know where you live, where you work, where your family sleeps at night. We know your daily routine, your security protocols, your escape routes. We know everything about you. Vextar felt his hands begin to shake. But we are not monsters like you, Kane continued. We will not murder your children to make a point. Instead, we will simply make sure that everywhere you go, everyone you meet, knows exactly what you did to ours. You will live with the knowledge that you are marked, that justice is coming, and that there is nowhere in this galaxy you can hide from the consequences of your actions. The message ended with a simple image. A list of names. Thousands of them. Every human who had died in the bombardment with their ages and homeworlds. At the bottom was a single line of text. We remember them all. Vextar stared at the screen for a long time. For the first time since the human conflict began, he wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened amid unprecedented security measures. Armed guards from 6 different species patrolled the corridors, and powerful sensor arrays swept for any sign of human infiltration. High Counselor Vextar looked haggard as he called the meeting to order. The situation has escalated beyond our worst projections, he announced. In the past month, human attacks have increased both in frequency and scope. We are no longer dealing with isolated terrorist incidents. Admiral Korth of the Catharan Defense Force stood to address the assembly. Honored counselors, I must report that we have lost contact with 17 patrol groups in the last week alone. Not destroyed, lost. We find their ships days later with crews unconscious and all military data wiped from their computers. Counselor Nexith's mechanical voice carried new stress modulations. The humans have also begun targeting civilian infrastructure. Power grids on Nexari Prime suffered mysterious failures that left 3 cities without electricity for 6 days. Our engineers cannot explain how the systems were sabotaged. Similar incidents have occurred on 14 Council worlds, added Counselor Yesh. Transportation networks, communication relays, water treatment facilities, all experiencing simultaneous failures that appear random, but follow a clear pattern when analyzed together. Vextar pulled up a holographic display showing the affected systems. What pattern? Yesh manipulated the display, highlighting the timing of each failure. The humans are creating cascading effects. First, they disable early warning systems. Then they disrupt transportation, so emergency response teams cannot reach critical areas quickly. Finally, they target the infrastructure itself. The result is maximum disruption with minimal actual damage. Admiral Quexenon appeared via hologram from his command ship. High Counselor, I have disturbing intelligence to report. Our deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures in the void sector. When we investigated, we found evidence of large-scale construction. What kind of construction? Vextar demanded. Shipyards, sir. The humans are building a fleet. Based on the energy readings, we estimate they have constructed at least 3,000 vessels in the past year. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Counselor Grexenon's deep voice cut through the noise. That is impossible. We destroyed their industrial capacity. They do not have the resources for such construction. That is what we believed. Admiral Quexenon replied grimly. But our estimates were wrong. The humans appear to have developed mobile shipyards that can construct vessels using raw materials, harvested from asteroids and dead worlds. Vextar felt his stomach tighten. How many humans are we now facing? Dr. Zelkir of the Vorthan Science Council, who rarely spoke in these meetings, stood up slowly. High Counselor, I have been analyzing recovered human technology. What I have found is disturbing. Explain, Vextar ordered. The humans have been combining technologies from multiple species in ways we never considered. They have created hybrid systems that exceed the capabilities of any individual component. More concerning, they appear to have developed artificial reproduction systems. The chamber fell silent. Nexith leaned forward. Artificial reproduction? Genetic engineering, accelerated growth chambers, neural downloading systems. The humans can create fully functional adults in a matter of months instead of years. Based on the genetic diversity and recovered tissue samples, I estimate their population has grown to over 200 million individuals. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. In less than 2 years, humanity had not only survived genocide, but had quadrupled their population while developing technology that surpassed Council capabilities. Admiral Korth stood again. High Counselor, I must recommend immediate military action. If we allow the humans to continue growing their forces, they will soon outnumber us. I agree, said Admiral Quexanon. My intelligence indicates they are preparing for a major offensive. We should strike first while we still have numerical superiority. Counselor Yesh shook her head. That assumes we actually have superiority. If the humans can appear anywhere without warning and disappear just as quickly, our numbers mean nothing. The debate was interrupted by alarms throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in red as automated systems announced a security breach. Impossible, Vexitar said. This station has the best defenses in the galaxy. The main display activated without authorization, showing a human face that many recognized. Admiral Marcus Kane looked directly at the assembly, his expression calm and confident. Honored counselors, Kane said, his voice carrying through the chamber's speakers. I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but I felt it was time we spoke directly. Security forces rushed into the chamber, weapons drawn, but there was nothing to shoot at. Kane's image was being broadcast through the station's own systems. How? Vextar demanded. Kane smiled slightly. You have been asking the wrong questions, High Counselor. You wonder how we survived, how we rebuilt, how we became so numerous. The real question is why we have been so restrained. The display changed, showing a detailed schematic of the Council station. Every corridor, every room, every security system was highlighted in precise detail. We have been inside your most secure facilities for months, Kane continued. Your homes, your offices, your military bases, we know them all. We could have killed any of you at any time, Admiral Korth snarled. Then why have you not? Because we are not like you, Kane replied. We do not murder innocents to make a point. But make no mistake, our patience has limits. The display changed again, showing images from across Council space. Human ships materializing out of nowhere. Their sleek forms unlike anything in Council databases. The vessels moved with impossible grace, phasing in and out of reality as they completed their missions. You created us, Kane said. When you decided that might makes right, when you chose to solve your problems with overwhelming force, you taught us the only lesson that matters in this galaxy. We learned that lesson very well. Vextar found his voice. What do you want? Justice, Kane replied simply. Every individual who participated in the genocide of our people will face trial for their crimes. Every world that profited from our suffering will pay reparations. Every species that stood by and watched while you murdered our children will acknowledge their complicity. And if we refuse? Nexith asked. Kane's expression never changed. Then we will demonstrate what human determination really looks like when it is applied without restraint. The display showed a new image. A massive fleet of human ships, their numbers beyond counting, hanging in the darkness between galaxies. We have spent 2 years building for this moment, Kane said. We have ships you cannot detect, weapons you cannot defend against, and soldiers who have dedicated their entire existence to ensuring that justice is done. Admiral Quexnon leaned forward. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. We do not need to fight the entire galaxy, Kane replied. We only need to fight those who chose to make themselves our enemies. Many species in this council had no voice in the decision to attack us. Some even spoke against it. They have nothing to fear from us. Kane's image leaned closer to the camera. But those who planned our destruction, who gave the orders, who pulled the triggers, they will answer for what they have done. The transmission began to fade. You have 1 galactic standard year to begin making amends. Use that time wisely. Justice delayed is not justice denied. It is simply justice gathering strength. The screen went dark, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Slowly, the implications of what they had witnessed began to sink in. Humanity had not simply survived. They had evolved. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that combined advanced technology with absolute moral certainty. They had the power to destroy their enemies, but chose instead to offer one last chance at redemption. Counselor Yesh broke the silence. High Counselor, I formally request that we begin immediate negotiations with the human representatives. Seconded, said Dr. Zelkir. Vextar looked around the chamber. For the first time since the crisis began, He saw fear in the eyes of species that had never known defeat. They were beginning to understand what humanity had become in the fires of genocide. "The Council will consider all options," Vextar said finally, but privately he wondered if they had already waited too long. The humans had given them a year to act. The question was whether the Council would choose wisdom or continue down the path that had led them to this moment. Outside the station, invisible to all sensors, human ships maintained their silent vigil. They watched and waited, ready to deliver justice in whatever form the galaxy's response would require. The countdown had begun. The Galactic Standard Year passed like a countdown to war. Across Council space, species argued among themselves while humanity watched and waited. Some tried to make peace, offering reparations and apologies. Others prepared for battle, convinced that superior numbers would overcome human technology. High Counselor Vextar stood in his command center, surrounded by displays showing the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 12,000 ships from 47 worlds formed a vast armada that stretched across 3 star systems. Every species had contributed their finest vessels and most experienced crews. "Status report," Vextar commanded. Admiral Korth's image appeared on the main screen. "All fleets are in position, High Counselor. The Zephyrian First Fleet holds the center with 3,000 ships. Nexari stealth squadrons are deployed on the flanks. Catharin heavy battle groups provide our main striking power." Admiral Quexnon added his report. "Intelligence indicates the human fleet is gathering in the Terminus sector. Long-range sensors detect approximately 5,000 vessels, though our scans are partially blocked by some form of interference." Vextar nodded. The numbers favored the Council by more than 2 to 1. "And the diplomatic front?" Counselor Nexith's mechanical voice carried frustration. 17 species have withdrawn from the Alliance. They claim neutrality, but several have been negotiating secretly with human representatives. The Dalari Confederation formally apologized for their participation in the bombardment. The Vorthon Science Council has offered to share their genetic research as reparations. "Cowards," Vextar snarled. "When this is over, they will learn the price of betraying the Council." The discussion was interrupted by urgent signals from the sensor stations. Lieutenant Felkor, the young Zephyrian officer monitoring deep space communications, looked up with confusion. "Sir, I am receiving a transmission on all frequencies. The source appears to be everywhere." "Explain," Vextar demanded. "The signal is coming from every direction simultaneously. It is impossible to triangulate the origin point." The main display activated, showing Admiral Marcus Kane standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a human ship. Behind him, other figures moved efficiently at their stations. Kane looked older than in previous transmissions, but his eyes burned with the same cold determination. "High Counselor Vextar," Kane said, "1 year ago I gave you a choice. You could begin the process of justice and reconciliation, or you could prepare for war. I see you have made your decision." Vextar stepped forward. "We will not surrender to terrorists, Admiral Kane. The Council represents over 1 trillion sentient beings. You command the remnants of a defeated species." Kane smiled grimly. "Is that what you believe? Let me show you the truth." The display changed, showing long-range sensor readings of the space around the Council fleet. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then the readings began to shift, revealing shapes that had been invisible moments before. Thousands of human ships materialized out of empty space. They appeared above, below, and on all sides of the Council formation. The human vessels were unlike anything in Council databases, sleek, organic-looking craft that seemed to bend light around them. "Impossible," Admiral Korth breathed. "Our sensors showed empty space." "Your sensors see what we allow them to see," Kane replied. "We have been watching you for hours, studying your formations, analyzing your tactics. You arranged your fleet to fight an enemy that would meet you head-on, but we are not that enemy." Admiral Quexnon's voice cracked with stress. "How many ships do you have?" Kane's image was replaced by a tactical display showing the true scope of the human fleet. Nearly 15,000 vessels surrounded the Council armada, their positions carefully calculated to create overlapping fields of fire. "Numbers are not what matter in this fight," Kane said as his image returned. "What matters is will. Your crews fight because they were ordered to. Our people fight because they remember what you did to our children." Vextar activated his fleet communication system. "All ships engage the enemy. Show these humans the price of defying the Council." The battle began with devastating efficiency. Council ships opened fire with their most powerful weapons, but the energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space. The human vessels had phased out of normal reality the instant before the weapons fired. "They are using dimensional shifting," reported Dr. Zelkir from the science vessel Bright Knowledge. "They exist in parallel space until the moment they attack, then shift back into our dimension just long enough to fire." Human weapons proved terrifyingly effective. Streams of coherent energy sliced through Council shields like they were not there. But more disturbing were the non-lethal attacks. Entire Council ships suddenly went dark as their crews fell unconscious. Others found their weapons systems disabled by nanobots that appeared from nowhere. Admiral Korth's flagship, the Eternal Glory, was among the first to be boarded. Human soldiers in advanced armor materialized directly on the bridge, moving so fast they seemed like blurs. Within minutes, the ship's command crew was unconscious and the vessel was under human control. "How are they transporting through our shields?" Vextar demanded. "They are not transporting," Dr. Zelkir replied in amazement. "They are phasing their soldiers through solid matter. Our defenses are useless against dimensional manipulation." The tide of battle turned rapidly. Council ships found themselves outmaneuvered, outgunned, and facing technology they could not understand. Human vessels danced between dimensions, appearing only long enough to deliver precise strikes before vanishing again. But what shattered Council morale was not the military defeat. It was the realization that the humans were showing mercy. Disabled ships were left alone once their weapons were neutralized. Crew members were rendered unconscious rather than killed. Even as the Council fleet was systematically dismantled, human forces avoided unnecessary casualties. Admiral Quexanon's voice came through on emergency frequencies. "High Counselor, we have lost 70% of our fleet capability. My ships cannot target enemies they cannot see. I recommend immediate surrender." Vextar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The greatest armada in galactic history had been defeated in less than 2 hours by a species they had tried to exterminate. Kane's image appeared again on the main screen. "High Counselor, your fleet is beaten, but this battle was never about military victory. It was about demonstrating that the age of Council supremacy is over." The display changed, showing recordings from across Council space. On dozens of worlds, populations were watching the battle through human broadcasts. They could see their mighty fleets being defeated by the species they had been told was primitive and broken. "Your people now know the truth," Kane continued. "They know that you lied about human capabilities. They know that you started a war with a species that had done nothing but ask for justice. Most importantly, they know that you failed to protect them from the consequences of your arrogance." Reports began flooding in from across Council territory. Protest movements erupted on 17 worlds. 3 species formally withdrew from the Council. The Dalari Confederation announced they were accepting human protection for their colonies. "But we are not conquerors," Kane said, his voice softening slightly. "We did not fight this war to rule the galaxy. We fought to ensure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else." Vextar found his voice. "What are your terms?" "The same terms we offered a year ago. War crimes trials for those responsible for the genocide, reparations for the worlds you destroyed, and a new galactic government based on equality rather than the dominance of the strongest." Kane's image was replaced by that of Ambassador Sarah Chen, older now and bearing scars from her time in Council captivity, but still carrying herself with dignity. "The Terran Republic offers a new compact to all species," she announced. "One based on mutual respect, shared prosperity, and the protection of the weak from the strong. We invite any species that shares these values to join us in building a better galaxy." The transmission ended, leaving Vextar alone with the wreckage of his ambitions. Around him, his officers waited for orders that would never come. The Council's authority was broken, shattered by a species that had turned genocide into justice and vengeance into mercy. 3 months later, the Galactic Assembly convened for the first time. Representatives from 83 species gathered in the new capital on Terra Nova, the first human world to be rebuilt after the war. The chamber was designed without elevated platforms or special seating. Every species sat as equals. Ambassador Sarah Chen, now Secretary General of the Assembly, addressed the gathering. "We are here because we learned that might without right is tyranny, and right without might is helpless. Humanity offers both to any species that will work with us to build a galaxy where no child of any race will ever again watch their home burn from orbit. The applause came from dozens of different species, their various forms of appreciation creating a symphony of hope. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Kane watched quietly. His war was over. Justice had been served not through destruction, but through the patient application of overwhelming moral and military force. The age of the Council was finished. The age of true galactic civilization had begun,